I'm gonna bring a few people in at once, and just kind of hopefully create a little bit of a conversation. And Ben, as I bring others in, just tell folks where you're calling us from tonight.
Hey, I'm calling from Westchester, New York.
Okay. And Bill, same question. Where are you calling from tonight? You need to unmute Bill.
Montana Democrat.
Yes, sir. And James, where are you calling from? Got to unmute James one more time.
Sorry, James. I'm calling from West Hartford, Connecticut.
All right. Staying in the Northeast. Ben, you first. Tell us what you thought of what happened in the Oval Office.
Yeah, I was really confused by the whole thing, especially by Zelensky and what his motivations were going into it. Um, like to me, how it seemed was this had been going on against the background of the negotiations of the mineral deal. And what it kind of showed made me aware of was the way in which um, the US and the Ukraine seem to be pretty far from each other in terms of their positions. And I was just so perplexed by why Zelensky thought it was appropriate basically I thought that JD Vance's comment about like airing your dirty laundry out in front of the American media seemed quite apt to me, because it just showed the raw the mineral deal is happening against the larger structure of the peace deal. It's this preparatory step that's supposed to precede the actual um, talks between the Ukraine and Russia and the US. And it just seemed that yeah, he was showing his sorry, I'm kind of
Yeah,
losing
that's
audio.
right. Ben, are
Uh,
you a Trump supporter, Ben?
uh, I suppose so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Bill is not a Trump supporter. Bill, what did you think about what happened in the Oval?
I had a visceral reaction when I was watching it. It just, my heart was kind of sinking as the conversation was going on. Um, I I thought the comments from JD about going to campaign with the Democrats in Pennsylvania, Trump talking about how he's gone through all this hardship with Putin because of all the Russia hoax. Um, I just thought it was so. And my impression of the situation was it was a setup. And I worked with these high net worth developers, kind of in the 100 million plus range. And when they don't like a deal or they want to tank a deal, they can get very nasty and they can go very hard to just tank it. And it seemed like the handoff, one last question, and then the seamless handoff to JD seemed like it was a setup to our last thing we're going to do at this press conference is we're going to go after Zelensky and try to get him into a debate. So I was watching it as thinking of a developer, Trump, who maybe didn't think this mineral deal was that great and he wanted an out, and here was his out. So that was my reaction. I had one technical question. Was there a margin of error on the polling?
David, for some reason
Yeah,
you're
the
muted. Go ahead.
confidence interval will be about 3.5, 4%.
Okay.
And so that's one of the things we try to do, especially when we're doing really quick response polling, is make sure we only report really loud numbers, and loud insights from it. So it's there certainly is a margin of error on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to say about polls are not predictions. Sometimes polls are off. Right. We're not saying this is like gospel, but it is 1,000 person survey, which is bigger than most polls you'll see. They did watch the video,
It
and
was
it
the
Yeah.
entire
is
10, 11-minute video. And so
yeah,
that's
yeah,
a reaction. Public opinion will change dramatically over the next few days as everyone gets fed the spin and the narratives through X and then and the
Yeah, definitely have a bias because I was thinking of developer as I'm watching it, I'm thinking of Trump as a negotiator developer. So my bias is when I saw that seamless handoff is
yeah.
they're going to tank this. So
Bill, is there any degree to which you find fault with how Zelensky handled it?
well, I guess compared to how the British and the French did, if you look at them as the model, of how you're supposed to, be extremely deferential to Trump. Yeah, he didn't play that role. I don't think wearing a suit or not, I think that's just a smokescreen. I don't think that was an issue. And he shouldn't have taken the bait from JD, but in the end, I don't know that that would have really been mattered. I think they were going to tank it anyway.
Yeah.
So I think he was done the minute he got to the meeting, and this was just a way for them to grandstand and make it a public execution of the deal.
Bill, thank you. James, what's your perspective on what happened in the Oval Office?
So first, three-time Trump voter, but moderate guy. So I thought it was so on the politics, first of all, on the polling, I line up exactly how that poll looked. I would have fallen in the major categories of that poll. And I do think, to John's point, I do give Zelensky a little bit of grace, because he was in a tough situation, second language, and I can't imagine what he's going through. That said, there's a couple of things. I think it was a terrible unforced error by the president and the vice president. And so now rather than talking about a winning streak, we are now talking about this and the capabilities to be statesmen. I think that was an unforced error. Mark, to your point about JD Vance, what was most interesting to me in watching the video was the part where Trump really got angry, was when Zelensky said to JD Vance, "Stop yelling at me," and Trump jumped on him quickly after that point and sort of took over the conversation. And so this is just such a unique thing, I think, for a vice president to be this in the middle of things, and so out front. And so there's, I think, a couple of points. One thing, I thought JD, Zelensky came at him with a comment about, "Have you ever been to Ukraine?" And you could see JD Vance, it caught JD Vance, but you could watch JD Vance pull that thing back in and turn the conversation back in the direction that he wanted to, which I thought was an outstanding display of poise and intellect at the time he was doing it. And the other thing, it seems like, and this is maybe way off topic, but it seems to me that JD Vance is right now the spiritual heir to the MAGA movement.
Yeah.
And I understand, like 39 days in, but it is pretty clear that there is something there with the vice president. And this is a question actually to Mark or John, maybe. Is it unusual when a head of state is talking to a head of state to have the vice president sort of be in that conversation? And could that be taken as a disrespectful act? I don't know, but that's what I think.
Not unusual for them to be in the room, but unusual for them to speak, and maybe, in my recollection, John may differ, unprecedented for them to play. Yeah, well, they all, yeah.
I mean, Hegseth was in the room.
Yeah, Rubio. Yeah,
it was a bit weird.
Yeah,
and it's certainly, I don't remember a vice president ever speaking. I mean, Cheney was certainly in the room. I think Kamala was almost never in the room.
No, she was in the room a lot, actually.
Oh, she was. Okay. So I'm.
That's all right. Gore was in the room.
Right.
I mean, Joe Biden made a point of including her in a lot of stuff.
But remember, Trump likes to have other people speak in his meetings. He actually calls.
I have to say, I don't like when people jump to conclusions about things, including whether there was a Trump Vance plan here to blow the thing up. I think reporting is good, but I think speculating is not necessarily helpful and not good. I do find it strange, as much as Vance has already won over Trump and has a lot of leeway, and he's spoken at other things where you don't normally see vice presidents speak. I would be surprised if he spoke with no prior discussion. Maybe he did. I don't want to say he definitely did. There was prior discussion, but it would be quite something if he chose to play that role without some sort of prior approval, because it was quite a role, right? I mean, you could argue whether you think what Vance said was inappropriate or not. I think a lot of people have already said Vance's role set this off. What Vance said, whether you blame him for it or say what he said was fine, but Zelensky reacted to it, that's what set these things off. And so if it wasn't done with some sort of permission, and maybe I saw one camera angle where it seemed almost as if before he started, he looked to Trump for approval.
Yeah.
And again,
Yeah.
so, but even it's hard to believe it was just based on that look, because that was quite a role he played. Well, hopefully we'll learn more. James, Ben, and Bill, thank you all for coming in. I'm very grateful to you for making time on a Saturday to be part of the conversation.